friends, it's your girl Harpo. It's episode 11 titled My First Tampon, and it's about to get TMI up in this bitch. Welcome to Harpo's History with Tampons, a tale of unfortunate events that has an incredibly happy ending, I promise. You might wonder, why does this experience deserve an entire podcast episode? What's so noteworthy about your usage of tampons? Well, you're gonna find out. Before we begin, I should mention that this episode of Brown Girl Guild is sponsored by The Happy Eats. The Happy Eats is a family-owned and operated meal prep and delivery service. They rotate their menu weekly, so you get an abundance of yummy food all the time. The word happy is in their business name because to them, healthy is happy. They want us to have a happy relationship with food and our bodies. They have a multitude of different meal options and do upwards of 9 different vegetarian meals a week and 14 different meat meals a week. Each of those meals also has a low-carb/lifestyle option too. All this to say that my gluten-free, dairy-free, potato-free, white rice-free, low-sugar, low-inflammatory foods eating self is quite happy. Anyway, check them out on their website, thehappyeats.ca, or follow them on Instagram at thehappyeats to get on that meal prep wave and make sure you tell them that your girl Harpo sent you. Let's think back to our sex ed in elementary school and high school. It might have changed now to a more comprehensive approach, which basically means that it's a lot more expansive, detailed, diverse, and informative. But when I was learning sex ed in elementary school and high school, it really wasn't that comprehensive. We were all taught how the reproductive/sexual parts of our bodies work overall, but there wasn't really too much taught to us that went beyond the basics. I mean, sure, I know what a period is, and I know what a pad and tampon are, but did anyone teach me where to put the tampon and how to take it out of the applicator? Nah, they didn't. For the longest time, I used menstrual pads for my period because that's what felt like the easiest, least intimidating option. It was easy, right? Like you stick it on, sometimes it has wings, sometimes it doesn't. You know how long you're supposed to leave it on for. You know when to take it off. It felt pretty self-explanatory to me. But around me, all my friends were using tampons, and they thought it was bizarre that I was only using menstrual pads. They were so confused. Why don't you switch to tampons, Harpo? They would say. The problem was, I didn't know where to put it. Honestly, at age 16/17, I was still a newbie, even in my own body. I knew there were 3 holes down there, but I didn't know which one was which. And this is something that is so common for women. I was watching this episode of Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop Lab once. It was episode 3, I believe, and it was titled The Pleasure is Ours. And in this episode, they talked at length about the disconnect between women and their vaginas. Most of us have no idea what our vaginas even look like. Most of us don't even know we have a vagina and something called a vulva, and they're not the same thing. And so many of us don't actually know where all the parts of our genitals are and what they do. In this episode, they showed a sex educator who would host workshops where people with vaginas would hold mirrors to their parts and just look. They would just get comfortable, get acquainted, because the vast majority of us, like myself, consider this part of our bodies as something so far removed. And the point of it was to figure out what your vagina looks like, how it feels, all the vibes without all its utilities. And I was shook at that utilities part because what does it mean to have a vagina without automatically associating it with menstruation, sex, or childbirth? It was the first time I'd even considered that idea. But the reason I felt so intimidated to even use a tampon honestly was because I was scared. I'd have to reconcile with this disconnect from my body if I used a tampon. And for so many years, my period was annoying, something I just despised every month. It was always such a struggle to coordinate outfits during my period because I was using pads, which meant that I had to wear long cardigans, sweaters, or t-shirts every month during my period just to cover my ass. I wasn't able to go swimming. I wasn't able to go to the lake with my friends during my period. I wasn't able to fully enjoy vacations. And I just felt so miserable all the time. I want to tell you 3 stories, okay? The first time is the first time I used a tampon. The second is the second time I used a tampon. And then the third is the third time I used a tampon, okay? Now stay with me. 3 stories. The first time was ages ago. So I have a core group of friends that I'm still friends with since grade 8. We've been ride or die homies. Simran, who you might recall from the last episode, the one who's waxed my back for me in the past, she's one of them. Anyway, these kinds of homies are exactly the kind of homies that would teach you how to put a tampon in, right? They knew I was terrified of trying a tampon. So one day when we were all hanging out at my house, one of them, Saj, pulled out a tampon from her pocket and said, "Today we're going to teach you how to use a tampon." And I was horrified, horrified. I stopped dead in my tracks. I was like, the fuck? All I want to do is enjoy a night with my girls, and you're out here trying to ruin my freaking life. They shoved me into the bathroom with a tampon in my hand. And to be fair, I was like low-key curious too. I mean, was today the day my life was going to change forever? Spoiler alert, it didn't happen. The intro bit from the beginning of this episode is actually what happened instead. Now, I wasn't going to let Saj into the bathroom to shove this tampon into my vagina because, like, that's a bit too much for even the closest of homies. But I also wasn't capable of doing it all on my own. That tampon, it didn't even make it near my vagina. The second time I used a tampon, it actually did make its way into my body. I was in the Dominican Republic with my cousins, and of course, the Dominican is hot with a bunch of beaches and the ocean and an all inclusive resort with pools and endless drinks. I had my period, and I was really adamant about not ruining my freaking vacation. Pretty much the same thing happened though, right? Like my cousins shoved me into a bathroom with a tampon in my hands and said, "You better come out with that thing inside of you." And fair enough. My cousins are pretty scary, okay? So I was definitely going to come out with that thing inside of me no matter what. This time, it actually worked. I was braver than the last. I finally got it in. It didn't feel right though, and it felt really uncomfortable. I literally waddled out of the bathroom like a penguin, uncomfortable with this like gigantic thing in between my legs. And I headed towards the pool, but I didn't even make it into the pool. I like ran back right away into the room and yanked out the tampon because it just hurt. It hurt so bad. And years later, I would learn that there are different sizes for tampons, different absorbencies for tampons, just like menstrual pads, right? Not all tampons are the same, and they sure don't work the same for everyone in the exact same way. But anyway, I spent most of that vacation outside the pool. Now, the third time I used a tampon is actually my favorite time. It was a lake day with my friends, the same homies that I said, from grade 8. It was a lake day, and I was wearing a fly-ass bikini. Like, it was cute as fuck, guys. Like, it was a bright yellow, and I was feeling so excited to be at the lake with my girls. We always have so much fun, right? Like, we blast music, we drink them White Claws, we make excessive Snapchats to say, "Look at us, we're so cute." It's the best. But I had my period. And mind you, at this point, I was like 22. And yes, that's like literally exactly how long it took for me to get over my fear of tampons, 22. Anyway, being 22, I was a lot more confident and knowledgeable about my body. And also not down to ruin a lake trip with my girls over this, right? So I just dove in, literally and figuratively. I followed my intuition for so long. I'd been relying on everyone and everything around me to teach me how my body functioned without just checking in with myself. I said to myself in my head, "This is your body and you know it best." And it worked. It dead ass worked. If all the other times the tampon didn't even end up inside of me, or if it came out soon after, this third time worked like a charm, all because I trusted my body. I trusted my intuition. I just kind of opened my legs, held the tampon, and I was like, "You know what, baby? You going in. I don't care. I really don't care anymore. That's it. I'm done. I'm getting over this fear." Since then, I've been so much more confident with tampons and my menstrual health. I took it upon myself to research which tampons are best for me, why organic tampons might be better than non-organic tampons. And let me just give a plug real quick. I've been using the Bloom organic tampons. They show up to my house every month, a little box, a cute little pink box, cute little organic tampons inside of it. And it's the best. I feel different. I don't know how to explain it, but I do feel different now that I'm using organic tampons. But I took it upon myself to research all of that, right? I took it upon myself to learn why organic tampons are better than non-organic tampons. And I also took it upon myself to learn what the fuck toxic shock syndrome actually is, which is something that happens to women if their tampons are left in for too long, which, again, nobody tells us. But best of all, I have a better relationship with my period. I don't know about y'all, but I find all of a sudden, I just find this like deep sense of comfort in my period. I feel like such a powerful bad bitch when I'm bleeding. It's this beautiful cycle that my body is on, and it connects me with my divine feminine wisdom. It connects me with nature and a deeply profound, beautiful spiritual journey. And I want to say that using tampons is actually what helped facilitate this. And that might not be the case for all of us, right? It might not be this beautiful story that I'm playing out. But for me, it really did facilitate this. Instead of seeing my period as something that holds me back, having to think about what I was going to wear, not being able to do certain things. My period used to hold me back a lot, but now I see it as something that my body is capable of doing while simultaneously doing all the other 1,000 things that also make me a bad bitch. There are so many wishes that I have though. I wish that they taught us how to actually fully use tampons in elementary school and high school. I wish the sex ed was so much more comprehensive and that it went beyond a stick this into this and make that. I wish that The educators themselves were not awkward in teaching these kinds of things and weren't awkward in having these demonstrations done or having these kinds of conversations. I wish I was able to openly ask my mom at the age of 16 how a tampon works. I really wish I could just go into her room and be like, yo, bro, I want to learn how to use this. I wish I spent more of my life connected and comfortable with my body. Deadass. That one right there. I really wish I spent more of my life comfortable and connected with this vessel. And I wish I had a better relationship with the natural elements of my body. But we's changing that now. I'm empowering myself and equipping myself every day, every week, every month to get more and more in touch with my body. Because let's be real, who and what told us that we should be so far removed from our bodies? If this is the home we spend most of our time in, why are we running around like chickens with our heads cut off? Why are we living so much in our heads and not more in our bodies? Let me just say this here. One day, I'm gonna have me a cute ass daughter. Like for real. If you think I'm dope, wait till you meet my daughter. Okay? She doesn't exist yet, but she will. Anyway, one day, I'm gonna raise a beautiful, smart baby girl, and I'm gonna teach her all of it. Okay? Not just tampons and menstrual pads, but cardboard applicator tampons, plastic applicator tampons, organic versus non organic products, menstrual cups, and other reusable menstrual products. The whole damn 9 yards. I never want her to be as disconnected from her body as I was for most of my teens and the beginning of my 20s. Anyway, I can't believe I said vagina that many times during this episode for the entire world to hear, okay? I'll probably have a momentary moment of guilt once you all hear this episode and think, holy shit, I can't believe I said all of that. But that's the best part of the process, isn't it? Anyway, thanks for tuning in. As always, I want y'all to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and slide right on into my DMs to tell me all your feels about this episode. See ya!